The research vessel's analogical explorer hung in orbit above Kepler 442b, its sensors sweeping the planet's surface with mechanical precision. Dr. Zexathara of the Ethereal Collective studied the readouts with growing confusion, her translucent form flickering with patterns that indicated deep concern. "This cannot be correct," she muttered, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through multiple dimensions. "The biosignatures are impossible." Assistant Professor Klixenoth of the crystalline hegemony leaned over the sensor display, his faceted form refracting the ship's lights into prismatic patterns. "The readings are consistent across all instruments, Dr. Zexathara. We're detecting 17 distinct apex predator species living in close proximity to a human settlement." "That's not possible," insisted Commander Veltox of the Stratocracy, his forearms moving in agitated patterns. "Apex predators don't coexist with each other, let alone with sentient beings. They're called apex predators for a reason. They're at the top of every food chain, perfectly evolved killing machines." Dr. Zexathara had spent 3 centuries studying galactic predator species. She had cataloged over 400 different apex predators across the known galaxy, from the face-shifting void stalkers of the Phantom Nebula to the energy-feeding plasma wolves of the electromagnetic fields. In every case, without exception, these creatures were solitary hunters that killed anything they perceived as competition, including other apex predators. "Show me the settlement again," she ordered. The holographic display materialized above the central console, showing New Eden Colony in perfect 3-dimensional detail. The human settlement sprawled across a fertile valley, its buildings arranged in the characteristic pattern of human agricultural communities. But surrounding the settlement, moving freely through the colonists' daily activities, were creatures that should have turned the area into a charnel house by the eternal light. Whispered Dr. Zexathara, "Is that a void stalker playing with human children?" The display zoomed in on a section of the colony where several small humans, children, according to the biometric analysis, were engaged in some sort of recreational activity with a creature that existed primarily in shadow dimension, space. The void stalker, a predator capable of phasing through solid matter to strike from impossible angles, was allowing the children to ride on its back. "The readings indicate it's exhibiting playful behavior," reported Klixenoth, his crystalline structure resonating with disbelief. "No predatory aggression, no territorial displays, no hunting behavior. It's acting like it enjoys the interaction. Impossible." Commander Veltox repeated, "Void stalkers have killed entire expeditionary forces. They're creatures of pure predatory instinct. They don't play, they hunt, they kill, they consume. That's their evolutionary purpose." Dr. Zexathara studied the data streams flowing across her instruments. The biosignatures were unmistakable. 17 different apex predator species, each one capable of devastating entire ecosystems, living peacefully alongside human colonists. It violated every principle of xenobiology she had ever learned. "We need to investigate this directly," she decided. "Prepare the landing shuttle, but maintain maximum defensive protocols. If these readings are somehow inaccurate, we could be flying into a death trap." The landing was perhaps the most terrifying experience of Dr. Zexathara's long career. As their shuttle descended through Kepler 442b's atmosphere, the sensors continued to paint an impossible picture. Apex predators that should have been fighting each other to the death were instead moving in coordinated patterns around the human settlement. Some appeared to be helping with agricultural work. "I'm reading plasma wolves assisting with power distribution," reported Klixenoth, his voice tight with disbelief. "They're channeling electrical energy into the colony's power grid." "That's not possible," muttered Commander Veltox for the 3rd time. "Plasma wolves are energy parasites. They drain power systems. They don't enhance them." The shuttle touched down in New Eden's landing area, a cleared section of ground marked with standard navigation beacons. As the doors opened and the research team prepared to disembark, Dr. Zexathara felt every instinct screaming at her to retreat. The biosignatures of multiple apex predators were converging on their position, defensive positions. Commander Veltox ordered, his military training overriding scientific curiosity. "Maximum alert. If those creatures attack, oh, don't worry about them," came a cheerful human voice. "They're just curious." The research team turned to see a human female approaching their shuttle, completely unconcerned by the fact that she was being followed by what appeared to be a pack of crystalline Hunters, silicon-based ambush predators, whose diamond-hard shells could deflect military-grade weapons. Governor Sarah Chan, the human, introduced herself, extending a hand in the peculiar human greeting ritual. Welcome to New Eden. I see you've met some of our locals. Dr. Zexathara stared at the crystalline hunters, trying to process what she was seeing. The creatures were staying close to the human, their normally aggressive posture relaxed into what could only be described as affectionate attention. Governor Chen, Dr. Zexathara managed. You are aware that those creatures behind you are apex predators capable of killing you in approximately 0.3 seconds? Sarah turned to look at the crystalline hunters, then back at the alien research team with obvious confusion. These guys, they wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, actually, they do hunt flies. Keeps the insect population manageable, but hurt people, never. They're sweethearts once you get to know them. One of the crystalline hunters, a creature whose species had never shown anything resembling social behavior, moved closer to Sarah and gently nudged her with its crystalline head. She responded by scratching behind what might have been its sensory organs, and the creature emitted a low harmonic sound that the translator system struggled to interpret as purring. This is impossible, Commander Veltox whispered. Everything we know about apex predator behavior says this can't be happening. Well, Sarah replied with a smile, maybe what you know about apex predators is incomplete. Would you like to meet the rest of the family? The tour of New Eden Colony was unlike anything in the xenobiological literature. Dr. Zexathara found herself walking through a human settlement where the most dangerous predators in the galaxy live peacefully alongside colonists, participating in daily activities as if they were domesticated animals. This is Max, Sarah said, introducing them to a void stalker that had materialized from the shadow dimension to investigate the visitors. He's been with us for about 3 years now. Excellent at keeping the perimeter secure. Nothing hostile gets past him. The Void Stalker, a creature that existed partially outside normal space-time and could strike from dimensions that most beings couldn't even perceive, sat beside Sarah like an oversized dog waiting for treats. How? Dr. Zexathara managed. How is this possible? Void Stalkers are solitary hunters. They don't form social bonds. They exist to kill. Oh, Max isn't solitary, Sarah replied, scratching behind the creature's ear. It was difficult to tell with a being that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. He's got a mate and 2 cubs in the dimensional pocket he calls home. They all come around for dinner sometimes. Dinner? Clicks and out that's crystalline. Form resonated with horror. You feed them. Of course we feed them. They're family. Well, extended family. Max particularly likes the synthetic proteins we grow in the lab, though he'll hunt for himself when he feels like it. Dr. Zexathara tried to process this information. Governor Chen, you do understand that you're describing a domestication relationship with creatures that have never been successfully domesticated by any species in galactic history? Domesticated? Sarah looked puzzled. I wouldn't say we've domesticated them. We've just befriended them. It's not that complicated. Not complicated? Commander Veltox gestured at the Void Stalker, which was now playfully phasing in and out of visible reality. That creature is classified as a Class 12 extermination threat. Entire stratocracy battle groups have been deployed to eliminate single specimens. Well, that explains why Max doesn't like military vessels, Sarah replied. Bad experiences with your people, I imagine, but he's learned to trust us because we never tried to hurt him. They continued the tour, encountering impossible sight after impossible sight. Plasma wolves that channeled electricity into the colony's power grid, while their cubs played with human children. Crystalline hunters that had formed hunting partnerships with human agricultural teams, using their perfect camouflage to protect crops from pest species. Shadow panthers that served as scout patrols, their ability to move through solid matter making them ideal for reconnaissance. This is Bella, Sarah said, introducing them to a creature that Dr. Zexathara's instruments identified as a quantum sphinx, a predator that existed across multiple probability states simultaneously. She's expecting cubs next month. We're all very excited. The quantum sphinx, a creature whose very existence was a violation of several fundamental laws of physics, nuzzled against Sarah's hand with obvious affection. According to every scientific paper ever written about the species, quantum sphinxes were incapable of physical contact with beings that existed in only one probability state. Governor Chen, Dr. Zexathara said slowly, "Could you explain to me how any of this is possible?" Sarah considered the question for a moment. "I suppose it started the way all good relationships start, with food and patience. When we first arrived on Kepler 442b, we knew the planet had apex predators. Our surveys had identified at least a dozen different species. Standard protocol would have been to establish defensive perimeters and eliminate any threats." "That is correct, Commander," Veltox confirmed. "Standard military doctrine for apex predator encounters is immediate neutralization." "But that seemed wrong," Sarah continued. "These creatures weren't attacking us out of malice. They were just being what evolution made them to be. So instead of trying to kill them, we tried to understand them. Understand them how? By watching, learning their behaviors, their needs, their social structures. We discovered that most apex predators aren't really solitary by choice. They're solitary because every other species either runs away or tries to kill them. They're lonely." Dr. Zexathara felt her scientific worldview cracking around the edges. Lonely apex predators don't experience loneliness. They're evolved killing machines optimized for hunting efficiency, are they? Sarah asked. Or are they just highly evolved social creatures that have never found anyone willing to be social with them? As if to illustrate her point, a pack of plasma wolves emerged from the settlement's power distribution center, their energy-based forms crackling with controlled electrical discharge. Instead of showing the territorial aggression that their species was famous for, they approached the group with obvious curiosity. "These are the Henderson Pack," Sarah explained as the energy beings circled the visitors with cautious interest. "They showed up about 6 months after we arrived, half-starved. Their leader badly injured in a fight with a crystalline hunter. We helped patch him up, shared some of our electrical power, and they just stayed." One of the plasma wolves, the alpha, judging by his size and the deference shown by the others, approached Sarah and gently touched her with a tendril of controlled energy. She smiled and responded by placing her hand on the creature's crackling form. "How are you not being electrocuted?" Commander Veltox demanded. "Practice," Sarah replied, "and trust. Lightning here knows how to modulate his electrical field so it won't hurt me. Took us a few months to work out the technique, but now it's second nature." Dr. Zexathara watched the interaction with growing fascination. The plasma wolf was indeed controlling its electrical output with incredible precision, maintaining just enough charge to remain coherent while ensuring that its contact with the human wasn't harmful. This suggests a level of cognitive sophistication that has never been documented in plasma wolf behavior, she observed. "They're not supposed to be capable of such fine electrical control." "Maybe they always were capable," Sarah suggested. "Maybe they just never had a reason to learn it before." The implications were staggering. If apex predators were capable of this level of behavioral modification, if they could learn to interact safely with other species, then centuries of xenobiological doctrine would need to be rewritten. "Governor Chen," Dr. Zexathara said carefully, "would you be willing to participate in a formal study? What you've achieved here is unprecedented in galactic history. If we could understand how humans accomplish this domestication, it could revolutionize our understanding of predator species." "It's not domestication," Sarah corrected again. "It's friendship. And yes, I'd be happy to help with your research. But you should know, this isn't unique to our colony. Humans have been forming partnerships with apex predators for as long as we've been traveling between the stars." "What do you mean?" "I mean, this is just what humans do. We've been doing it on Earth for tens of thousands of years. Wolves, big cats, bears, sharks, if it's dangerous and predatory, humans will eventually try to make friends with it." Dr. Zexathara felt her understanding of the universe shifting fundamentally. "You're saying this is normal human behavior?" "Completely normal. My grandmother had a pet tiger back on Earth. My cousin runs a shark sanctuary. My brother-in-law works with grizzly bears. Humans don't see predators as enemies. We see them as potential friends who just haven't been properly introduced yet." The research team exchanged glances. If Sarah was correct, if humans routinely formed bonds with apex predators, then they were dealing with a species-wide ability that no other galactic civilization possessed. "How?" Dr. Zexathara asked. "How do humans do what no other species has ever accomplished?" Sarah was quiet for a moment, watching as a group of human children played with what appeared to be the cubs of several different apex predator species. "I think it's because we're not afraid to love something that could kill us. Most species see danger and run away. Humans see danger and think, I wonder if it's lonely. Dr. Zexathara spent the next several weeks embedded with the New Eden colonists, documenting every aspect of human-predator interaction. What she discovered challenged everything she thought she knew about both apex predators and human psychology. The colonists didn't see their apex predator companions as dangerous animals that needed to be controlled. They saw them as individuals with distinct personalities, preferences, and emotional needs. Max the Void Stalker was described as playful but protective. Lightning the Plasma Wolf was energetic and curious. Bella the Quantum Sphinx was thoughtful and maternal. They assign emotional characteristics to creatures that aren't supposed to possess emotions, Dr. Zexathara noted in her research log. But observation confirms that these apex predators are indeed displaying emotional responses consistent with human descriptions. The breakthrough came when she observed a bonding session between a newly arrived human colonist and a young crystalline hunter that had been separated from its pack. The human, a xenobiologist named Dr. Maria Santos, approached the obviously distressed predator with nothing but patience and food. The key seems to be genuine emotional investment. Dr. Zexathara recorded, Dr. Santos is not attempting to control or dominate the crystalline hunter. She is expressing genuine concern for its welfare. The predator appears to recognize this emotional sincerity over the course of several days. Dr. Zexathara watched as Dr. Santos gradually earned the trust of the young predator. The process was slow, requiring hours of patient interaction, but eventually the crystalline hunter began responding to the human's presence with obvious relief. It's working, Dr. Santos explained during one of their observation sessions. Look at his body language. He's relaxing, starting to trust. Crystalline hunters are pack animals by nature. This one was alone and scared. All he needed was someone to care about him. But why does he trust you? Dr. Zexathara asked. Your species are completely incompatible biologically. You have nothing in common evolutionarily. We have emotions in common, Dr. Santos replied. Fear, loneliness, the need for companionship. These aren't uniquely human experiences. Every intelligent creature feels them. The difference is that humans are willing to acknowledge those feelings in other species. Dr. Zexathara watched as the crystalline hunter, a creature capable of cutting through starship hull plating with its diamond-hard claws, gently nuzzled against Dr. Santos' hand. The human responded by speaking to it in soft, soothing tones, the way one might comfort a frightened child. Remarkable, she murmured. The emotional bond appears to transcend biological incompatibility. It's not transcending anything, Dr. Santos corrected. It's recognizing that the incompatibility was never real. We're all just creatures trying to survive in a hostile universe. Why wouldn't we want to help each other? The research team's investigation revealed that every human-predator bond followed a similar pattern. Initial contact based on providing for the predator's basic needs, food, shelter, medical attention, gradual building of trust through consistent, non-threatening behavior, recognition by the predator that the human posed no threat and might actually be beneficial, formation of emotional attachment that transformed the relationship from predator-prey to something resembling family. The humans appear to activate dormant social instincts in apex predator species, Dr. Zexathara recorded. Species that we believe were incapable of forming interspecies bonds are displaying complex social behaviors when exposed to human emotional investment. But the most significant discovery came when Dr. Zexathara analyzed the biochemical aspects of human-predator bonding. Humans, she found, produced unusually high levels of oxytocin, a bonding hormone that, remarkably, seemed to affect other species. As well, human oxytocin appears to trigger corresponding neurochemical responses in apex predators. She noted, the human emotional state is literally influencing the predator's brain chemistry, creating a feedback loop of trust and affection. Moreover, humans possessed what could only be described as an unconscious ability to read and respond to nonverbal emotional cues from other species. They instinctively recognized signs of distress, aggression, fear, or contentment in creatures that they had never encountered before. It's as if humans have evolved as universal social mediators, Dr. Zexathara observed. They possess the emotional intelligence to form bonds with virtually any species, capable of social behavior. The implications were staggering. If humans could form bonds with apex predators, they could potentially establish peaceful relationships with any species in the galaxy. Their emotional intelligence might be the key. to solving interspecies conflicts that had raged for millennia, but the research team's findings were about to be put to the ultimate test. Absolutely not, Commander Veltox stated firmly. The Nightmare Leviathan is the most dangerous creature in known space. It has killed every sentient being that has ever encountered it. What you're proposing is a research. It's suicide. Dr. Zexathara floated in the center of New Eden's administrative complex, her translucent form flickering with determination. Commander, if human domestication abilities are truly universal, then they should work on any apex predator. The Nightmare Leviathan is the ultimate test case. The Nightmare Leviathan was a creature of legend and terror throughout the galaxy. A space-dwelling apex predator the size of a small moon. It existed in the void between star systems, hunting ships and consuming entire crews. No weapons had ever proven effective against it. No attempt at communication had ever succeeded. It was pure predatory intelligence wrapped in virtually indestructible armor. The creature has destroyed 47 ships in the past century, Glixanoth added, his crystalline form resonating with anxiety. Entire fleets have been deployed to eliminate it. With no success, we don't even know how it reproduces or what. It feeds on besides starships. That's exactly why we need to try, Dr. Zexathara insisted. If humans can bond with the Nightmare Leviathan, it proves that their abilities truly are universal. It would be the greatest xenobiological discovery in galactic history. Sarah Chen looked up from the data pad she'd been studying. I appreciate the confidence, Dr. Zexathara, but I'm not sure any of our colonists are qualified to attempt bonding with something that dangerous. Actually, came a voice from the doorway. I'd like to volunteer. Everyone turned to see a human male entering the room. He was perhaps 40 standard years old, with the kind of calm confidence that came from years of working with dangerous animals. Marcus Rodriguez, he introduced himself. I'm an animal behaviorist from Earth. I specialize in apex predator psychology. I've worked with everything from great white sharks to Siberian tigers. If you need someone to attempt communication with this Nightmare Leviathan, I'm your guy. Marcus, Sarah said warningly, this isn't like working with Earth predators. The Leviathan exists in open space. It's killed everyone who's ever approached it. And maybe that's because no one's ever approached it properly, Marcus replied. From what I've read in your reports, every encounter with the Leviathan has been military in nature. Ships with weapons, trying to either fight it or flee from it. Has anyone ever tried simply talking to it? You can't talk to the Nightmare Leviathan, Commander Veltox protested. It doesn't communicate. It just destroys. Every animal communicates. Marcus said calmly, maybe we've just been speaking the wrong language. Dr. Zexathara studied the human male with growing interest. His calm confidence was reminiscent of the other humans she'd observed, but there was something else, a deep understanding of predator psychology that went beyond mere academic knowledge. Mr. Rodriguez, she said slowly, what makes you think you can succeed where entire military forces have failed? Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering his words. Because military forces approach predators as enemies to be defeated, I approach them as individuals to be understood. The Nightmare Leviathan isn't evil. It's just doing what evolution designed it to do. If I can figure out what it needs, what it wants, then maybe we can find common ground. And if you're wrong, Commander, Veltox asked, if it simply kills you like it has everyone else, Marcus shrugged. Then at least we'll have tried something different. But I don't think I'm wrong. Every apex predator I've ever worked with has the same basic needs: food, security, companionship. The Leviathan is probably just a very large, very lonely creature that's never learned to trust anyone. The debate continued for hours, but eventually Dr. Zexathara's scientific curiosity won out over the others' caution. If humans truly possessed universal domestication abilities, the Nightmare Leviathan was the ultimate test. If Marcus could form a bond with the galaxy's most dangerous predator, it would prove that human emotional intelligence was indeed something unique in the universe. The preparations took 2 weeks. Marcus studied every piece of available data on the Nightmare Leviathan, learning its movement patterns, its hunting behaviors, and its few recorded interactions with other creatures. Meanwhile, Dr. Zexathara prepared the most sophisticated sensor suite ever assembled to document a first contact attempt. Remember, Marcus said as they prepared to depart for the Leviathan's last known location, if something goes wrong, don't try to rescue me. Don't fire on the creature. Just observe and document. The worst thing you could do is confirm its belief that all visitors are hostile. The journey to the edge of the star system, where the nightmare Leviathan had been detected, took 3 days. When they arrived, the creature was immediately visible on long-range sensors, a massive, organic form drifting in the void, apparently dormant. Biosignatures confirm it's alive, reported the ship's science officer. Mass approximately 2 million metric tons, length roughly 3 kilometers. Energy readings suggest an active metabolism despite its apparent dormancy. It's beautiful, Marcus murmured, studying the sensor readings. Look at that bioarchitecture. It's like a living spacecraft designed by millions of years of evolution. Dr. Exothara had to admit that the nightmare Leviathan was indeed magnificent. Its form was sleek and organic, with what appeared to be sensory organs distributed across its hull like skin. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed slowly along its length, creating a hypnotic display of colors. "Mr. Rodriguez," she said, "are you certain you want to proceed?" Marcus was already suiting up in his environmental gear, more certain than I've ever been about anything. This creature has been alone in the void for who knows how long. It's time someone said hello. The approach was made in a small, unarmed shuttle with Marcus as the sole occupant. Dr. Exothara watched from the research vessel as the shuttle moved slowly toward the massive creature, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. For several minutes, nothing happened. The nightmare Leviathan continued its slow drift through space, seemingly unaware of the approaching shuttle. Then, suddenly, its bioluminescent pattern shifted from the slow, rhythmic pulse of dormancy to rapid, aggressive flashes. It's detected the shuttle, Dr. Exothara reported. Biosignatures indicate full alertness. Energy readings are spiking. I see it. Marcus's voice came through the communication channel. Calm despite the obvious danger. It's beautiful. Those patterns, they're not random. It's trying to communicate. "Mr. Rodriguez, the creature is powering what appear to be weapon systems," the science officer warned. "I recommend immediate withdrawal." "Negative," Marcus replied. "It's not powering weapons. It's trying to figure out what I am. I'm going to try responding to its light patterns." What followed was perhaps the most remarkable display of interspecies communication ever recorded. Marcus began flashing the shuttle's navigation lights in response to the Leviathan's bioluminescent signals. At first, the creature's patterns became more aggressive, but gradually they shifted to something that can only be described as curiosity. "It's working," Dr. Exothara breathed. "The Leviathan is responding to his signals. The aggressive patterns are diminishing. For nearly an hour, Marcus and the nightmare Leviathan exchanged flashing signals. Gradually, the creature's patterns became less aggressive and more complex, as if it were attempting to convey detailed information. "I think it's trying to tell me its story," Marcus reported. "These patterns, they're not just communication, they're like memories. It's showing me where it's been, what it's seen. Can you understand what it's saying? Some of it. It's been alone for a very long time. It's encountered other ships before, but they always attacked it or fled from it. It doesn't understand why other creatures are afraid of it." The breakthrough came when Marcus began transmitting mathematical sequences, prime numbers, simple equations, geometric patterns. The Leviathan responded with increasingly complex mathematical concepts, demonstrating an intelligence that rivaled any known galactic civilization. "It's not just intelligent," Marcus reported with growing excitement. "It's brilliant. These mathematical concepts it's showing me, some of them are beyond human understanding. This creature is a genius that kills everything it encounters," Commander Veltox reminded him. "A genius that's been driven to violence by loneliness and fear," Marcus corrected. "Every time it's tried to communicate with other ships, they've responded with hostility. It's learned that the only way to interact with other creatures is through violence." Over the next several hours, Marcus gradually gained the Leviathan's trust. He transmitted images of human society, showing the creature how humans lived in harmony with other species. He shared music, art, and mathematical poetry. Most importantly, he demonstrated patience and genuine interest in the creature's communications. The turning point came when the Leviathan suddenly moved closer to the shuttle, not in an aggressive manner, but with what could only be described as cautious affection. Its massive form dwarfed the tiny human vessel, but its movements were gentle, almost tender. "It wants physical contact," Marcus reported. I think it wants to touch the shuttle." "Mr. Rodriguez," That's extremely dangerous, Dr. Zexathara warned. One miscalculation and it could crush your vessel. It won't hurt me. Marcus replied with absolute confidence. It understands that I'm fragile. Watch, it's being incredibly careful. The nightmare Leviathan extended what appeared to be a sensory appendage toward the shuttle, moving with deliberate slowness. When it made contact with the hull, the touch was so gentle that the shuttle's structural sensors barely registered it. Remarkable, Dr. Zexathara whispered. A creature capable of destroying starships is demonstrating fine motor control to avoid damaging a small shuttle. But the most extraordinary moment came when the Leviathan began to sing. The sounds it produced were beyond the range of normal audio sensors, transmitted through vibrations in space itself. But when the ship's computers translated the frequencies into audible range, the result was hauntingly beautiful, a complex, melodic composition that spoke of loneliness, wonder, and desperate hope. It's singing to me, Marcus reported, his voice thick with emotion. It's been alone in the void for so long, and it's singing because finally, someone listened. Dr. Zexathara found herself deeply moved by the creature's song. This was no mindless predator. This was a sentient being expressing the deepest emotions through music that transcended species barriers. The bonding process is complete, she observed, watching as the Leviathan's bioluminescent patterns shifted to soft, rhythmic pulses of contentment. Mr. Rodriguez has successfully established peaceful contact with the galaxy's most dangerous apex predator. The implications were staggering. If humans could bond with the nightmare Leviathan, there was no apex predator in the galaxy beyond their reach. They possessed a unique ability that could revolutionize interspecies relations throughout known space. How do you feel, Mr. Rodriguez? Dr. Zexathara asked as Marcus's shuttle began its return journey. The Leviathan following at a respectful distance, humble, Marcus replied. This creature, its name translates roughly to Lonely Singer of the Void, has been waiting for someone to talk to for centuries. All it ever wanted was friendship, and now it has found one in a human. It's found more than that, Marcus said, watching as the Leviathan's song continued to resonate through space. It's found hope for the first time in its existence. It knows it's not alone in the universe. The successful bonding between Marcus Rodriguez and the nightmare Leviathan sent shockwaves through the galactic scientific community. Within weeks, research teams from across the galaxy were requesting permission to study human domestication abilities. The implications extended far beyond xenobiology. If humans could form bonds with any apex predator, they could potentially resolve conflicts that had raged for millennia. The data is conclusive, Dr. Zexathara announced to the Galactic Science Council. Humans possess a unique combination of traits that enables them to form emotional bonds with apex predator species. This ability appears to be universal, applicable to any creature capable of social behavior. The council chamber, filled with representatives from dozens of galactic civilizations, buzzed with excited discussion. The ability to safely interact with apex predators would open new worlds for colonization, allow for the study of previously inaccessible species, and potentially solve the problem of predator-related extinctions across the galaxy. Dr. Zexathara asked Counselor Haxmyra of the Techno Confederacy, what specifically enables humans to achieve these impossible bonds? Several factors working in combination, Dr. Zexathara replied, activating a holographic display that showed human brain chemistry. First, humans produce unusually high levels of oxytocin, a bonding hormone that appears to affect other species as well. When humans form emotional attachments, they literally alter the brain chemistry of the creatures they bond with. The display shifted to show neural activity patterns. Second, humans possess what can only be described as universal empathy. They can read and respond to emotional cues from species they've never encountered before. This allows them to recognize distress, fear, or aggression and respond appropriately. But most importantly, she continued, humans approach apex predators not as threats to be neutralized, but as individuals to be understood. They see past the predatory behavior to recognize the underlying emotional needs that drive it. You're saying that human emotional intelligence is a form of advanced technology? Asked Counselor Velcris of the Stratocracy. I'm saying that human emotional intelligence is more advanced than any technology we've developed for interspecies communication. They succeed where our most sophisticated translation matrices and behavioral analysis systems fail. The practical Applications were immediately obvious within months of Dr. Zexathara's report. Human apex predator specialists were in demand across the galaxy. Worlds that had been considered too dangerous for colonization due to predator populations suddenly became viable with human mediation. Scientific research programs that had been impossible due to apex predator interference could now proceed with human intermediaries. It's remarkable, observed Dr. Santos during a follow-up interview. We're not changing the predators. We're just recognizing that they were never really the monsters we thought they were. They're intelligent, emotional creatures who were trapped in roles that evolution assigned them. The conservation implications were equally significant. Many apex predator species have been driven to near extinction by fear and misunderstanding. With human mediation, these creatures could be protected and even reintroduced to their native habitats. The void stalkers of the Phantom Nebula were down to fewer than 50 individuals, reported conservation specialist Elena Vasquez. With human bonding techniques, we've been able to establish breeding programs and reintroduce them to worlds where they'd been extinct for centuries. The local ecosystems are already showing signs of recovery, but perhaps the most significant development was the establishment of the Galactic Apex Predator Research Institute, a joint venture between human and alien scientists dedicated to understanding the complex relationships between apex predators and their ecosystems. We're discovering that apex predators play crucial roles in maintaining ecological balance, explained Dr. Chen during the Institute's inaugural address. When they're removed from an ecosystem through fear or misunderstanding, the entire web of life begins to collapse. Humans aren't just domesticating these creatures. We're helping to restore the natural order. The research revealed that many apex predators possessed intelligence levels far beyond what had been previously documented. The nightmare leviathan, for example, demonstrated mathematical and artistic abilities that surpassed most galactic civilizations. Plasma wolves showed complex social structures and even rudimentary technology development. Crystalline hunters displayed problem-solving skills that suggested abstract reasoning. We've been looking at these creatures as simple predators, Dr. Zexathara reflected during a scientific symposium, but they're actually sophisticated beings with rich inner lives. Humans seem to understand this intuitively, while the rest of us needed years of research to reach the same conclusion. The military applications were equally revolutionary. The Galactic Defense Force began recruiting human specialists to work with apex predator defense systems. Worlds protected by human-bonded predators proved virtually impregnable to hostile forces. The psychological impact alone is devastating to potential invaders, reported General Crickstacks of the Defense Force. Imagine approaching a world and discovering that its defensive perimeter consists of creatures you've been taught to fear since childhood. Most hostile forces retreat without engaging, but the success of human-predator bonding programs also revealed uncomfortable truths about galactic civilization. For millennia, advanced species had solved the apex predator problem through elimination rather than understanding. Countless creatures had been driven to extinction not because they were truly dangerous, but because they were misunderstood. We've committed genocide against intelligent species, admitted Counselor Velquist during a somber session of the Galactic Ethics Committee. Species that could have been allies, partners, even teachers. We destroyed them because we were afraid to try understanding them. The revelation led to a comprehensive review of galactic extinction policies. Species that had been classified as inherently hostile were reevaluated in many cases. Creatures that had been marked for elimination were found to be simply defending territory or responding to perceived threats. The humans have taught us that intelligence and emotion exist in forms we never recognized, observed philosopher Zexamora of the Contemplative Collective. We measured intelligence by our own standards and found other species wanting, but perhaps the failing was in our standards, not in their intelligence. The cultural impact extended beyond scientific and military applications. Art, literature, and philosophy throughout the galaxy began to reflect a new understanding of the relationship between civilization and nature. The concept of apex partnership replaced the old model of apex elimination. We're not conquering nature anymore, explained human cultural ambassador Dr. Lisa Park. We're joining it. We're learning to see ourselves as part of the web of life rather than separate from it. The transformation was perhaps most visible in the new generation of galactic explorers. Mixed teams of humans and apex predators began mapping previously inaccessible regions of space, Void stalkers provided reconnaissance in dimensions that conventional sensors couldn't reach. Plasma wolves detected energy anomalies that escaped traditional instruments. Quantum sphinxes navigated probability storms that would destroy normal vessels. It's like having a universal key to the galaxy, reported explorer Captain Sarah Kim. There's nowhere we can't go, nothing we can't investigate. Well, we have apex predator partners helping us, but the most profound impact was psychological. The galaxy's civilizations began to question fundamental assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, and the nature of life itself. The humans have shown us that consciousness exists in forms we never imagined, reflected Dr. Zexathara during her final report to the Science Council. We thought we were the pinnacle of evolution, the most advanced forms of life in the galaxy. But perhaps advancement isn't about technological sophistication. Perhaps it's about the ability to recognize consciousness in all its forms and to respond with compassion rather than fear. The establishment of the Interspecies Emotional Intelligence Institute marked the formal recognition of human uniqueness in galactic civilization. The Institute's mission was to study and teach the emotional skills that enabled humans to bond with apex predators. We're not trying to make other species more human, explained Institute Director Dr. Rodriguez, who had become something of a celebrity after his successful bonding with the Nightmare Leviathan. We're trying to help them develop their own forms of emotional intelligence. Every species has the capacity for empathy and understanding. Humans just happen to be naturally good at accessing those abilities. The research programs that emerged from the Institute were groundbreaking. Alien students learned meditation techniques that helped them calm their analytical minds and open themselves to emotional perception. They practiced nonverbal communication, exercises that taught them to read body language and energy patterns. Most importantly, they learned to approach other species with curiosity rather than fear. The key insight, explained ethereal student Velthana, is that emotion is not weakness. We spent millennia trying to transcend our emotional responses, believing that pure logic was superior. But emotion is how consciousness connects with consciousness. Without it, we remain isolated in our own perspectives. The success stories began accumulating rapidly. A crystalline hegemony researcher successfully bonded with a pack of crystal wolves, creatures that had been considered impossible to approach. A stratocracy military uniformed partnerships with shadow panthers, creating the most effective reconnaissance force in galactic history. Even the ultralogical techno-confederacy began experimenting with empathic algorithms designed to recognize emotional states in other species. We're witnessing the emergence of a new form of galactic civilization, observed historian Kexanara of the Cultural Archive, one based on cooperation rather than domination, understanding rather than exploitation. The humans haven't just taught us to bond with apex predators. They've taught us to be better beings. The transformation wasn't without challenges. Many traditionalist factions within galactic civilization resisted the new approaches, arguing that emotion-based decision-making was primitive and dangerous. Some military leaders worried that bonding with apex predators would make their forces too compassionate for effective warfare. There are those who see our emotional evolution as a form of weakness, acknowledged Counselor Zexgrim during a policy debate. They believe that our ancient ways, logic, analysis, careful categorization of threats, are superior to these new emotional approaches. And how do we respond to such criticism? Asked a fellow counselor. We point to the results. Human-led exploration teams are discovering new worlds at unprecedented rates. Human-mediated conservation programs are saving species from extinction. Human emotional intelligence is solving conflicts that have raged for millennia. The evidence speaks for itself. The establishment of apex sanctuary worlds marked another milestone in galactic evolution. These were planets specifically designated as safe havens for apex predators, staffed by human-alien teams trained in interspecies communication. The sanctuary served multiple purposes: conservation, research, and education. Visitors come here expecting to see caged monsters, explained Sanctuary Director Dr. Maria Santos. Instead, they find themselves face-to-face with intelligent, emotional beings who are eager to communicate. It's transformative. Many visitors leave as advocates for apex predator rights. The sanctuary is also served as training grounds for the next generation of interspecies specialists. Young beings from across the galaxy came to learn human emotional techniques, often forming their own bonds with apex predators in the process. My people believed that emotions were a primitive relic of our evolutionary past. explained young Stratocracy Cadet Vilmox. But here, I've learned that emotions are actually an advanced form of communication. When I bonded with my Plasma Wolf partner, I experienced a connection deeper than any logical analysis could provide. The economic implications were equally significant. The apex predator industry became one of the fastest growing sectors in the galactic economy. Everything from predator-assisted mining operations to apex predator tourism generated enormous revenues while promoting conservation and understanding. We've created an economic model where protecting apex predators is more profitable than destroying them, noted economic analyst Dr. Hexavara. Worlds that once spent billions on predator elimination now earn billions from predator partnerships. But perhaps the most important development was the emergence of what scholars term the Great Empathy. This was a galaxy-wide shift in consciousness that saw beings of all species developing greater emotional intelligence and deeper appreciation for the complexity of life. We're becoming more than we were, reflected philosopher Zexamora, not through technological advancement or genetic modification, but through emotional evolution. We're learning to see the universe through the eyes of other beings, to feel what they feel, to understand what they need. The change was measurable in everything from crime statistics to artistic expression. Violent conflicts between species decreased dramatically as beings learned to recognize the emotional motivations behind apparent aggression. Art and literature began exploring themes of interspecies connection and mutual understanding. Even architecture evolved to accommodate the needs of multiple species and their apex predator partners. The humans didn't just teach us to domesticate apex predators, observed cultural anthropologist Dr. Click-Sathana. They taught us to domesticate ourselves, to tame our own predatory instincts toward other species and replace them with cooperative ones. The establishment of the Universal Declaration of Apex Predator Rights marked the formal recognition of these creatures as sentient beings deserving of protection and respect. The declaration, signed by every major galactic civilization, established legal protections for apex predators and created frameworks for their integration into galactic society. Today we recognize that intelligence takes many forms, declared Supreme Counselor Veltara during the signing ceremony. We acknowledge that consciousness exists in creatures we once dismissed as mere animals, and we commit ourselves to building a galaxy where all forms of life can thrive together. The Declaration also established the Apex Predator Ambassador Program, which trained both humans and other species to serve as liaisons between apex predator communities and galactic civilization. These ambassadors work to resolve conflicts, facilitate research, and ensure that apex predator rights were respected. We're not trying to make apex predators more civilized, explained Ambassador Rodriguez during his graduation speech to the first class of trainees. We're trying to make civilization more inclusive. We're expanding our definition of citizenship to include all intelligent beings, regardless of their evolutionary path. The research programs that emerged from this new understanding were revolutionary. Scientists working with apex predator partners made discoveries that would have been impossible through traditional methods. Void stalkers helped researchers explore alternate dimensions. Quantum sphinxes provided insights into probability mechanics. Nightmare Leviathans shared mathematical concepts that advanced galactic technology by centuries. They've been trying to teach us all along, realized Dr. Zexathara during a breakthrough moment in her research. Every aggressive display, every territorial behavior, every hunting pattern, it's all been communication. We just weren't listening. The artistic collaborations were equally remarkable. Plasma Wolf light sculptures, crystalline hunter stone songs, and Void Stalker shadow plays became celebrated forms of interspecies art. The Galactic Cultural Festival began featuring apex predator performances that drew billions of viewers across the galaxy. Art is the universal language, observed cultural director Dr. Park. When species create together, they understand each other in ways that pure communication can't achieve. The beauty that emerges from human-predator artistic collaboration speaks to something deeper than mere cooperation. The educational implications were profound. Schools across the galaxy began teaching empathy and emotional intelligence alongside traditional academic subjects. Children grew up learning to recognize and respect the consciousness in all forms of life. The next generation will see a very different galaxy than we did, predicted Education Minister Caxanora. They'll see apex predators not as monsters, but as potential friends and teachers. They'll approach the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. The military applications continued to evolve as well. The Galactic Defense Force developed new strategies based on cooperation. Rather than domination, human predator teams became the backbone of peacekeeping operations throughout the galaxy. We've learned that the most effective defense is not the strongest weapon, but the deepest understanding, explained Defense Minister Velkrin. When you truly understand your enemy's motivations, you can often transform them into allies. The exploration programs achieved unprecedented success. Human predator teams mapped regions of space that had been considered dangerous for conventional exploration. They established peaceful contact with previously hostile species and opened new frontiers for galactic expansion. The galaxy is so much larger than we ever imagined, reported Chief Explorer Dr. Kim. With Apex Predator partners, we can go anywhere, survive anything, and communicate with beings we never knew existed. The conservation successes were equally remarkable. Species that had been on the brink of extinction began recovering as humans helped establish protected habitats and breeding programs. The galactic ecosystem, damaged by millennia of fear-based policies, began to heal. We're witnessing the resurrection of entire biomes, reported Conservation Director Dr. Vasquez. When apex predators return to their native habitats, the entire web of life responds. We're not just saving individual species, we're restoring the balance of nature itself. But perhaps the most significant achievement was the establishment of the Galactic Council of All Species, a governing body that included representatives from every form of intelligent life, including apex predators. For the first time in galactic history, the voices of all consciousness were heard in the halls of power. Today we stand at the threshold of a new era, declared the Council's first human predator co-president, Dr. Santos, and her quantum sphinx partner, Probability, an era where intelligence is recognized in all its forms, where consciousness is celebrated in all its diversity, and where the galaxy truly becomes home to all who dwell within it. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, watched by trillions of beings representing thousands of species. The image of a human and an apex predator standing together as equal leaders became an iconic symbol of the new galactic order. We have learned the most important lesson of all, Dr. Santos concluded in her inaugural address, that love is indeed the most powerful force in the universe. It transcends species barriers, overcomes evolutionary differences, and transforms enemies into family. The humans didn't domesticate the apex predators. We simply recognized that we were all part of the same cosmic family, waiting to be reunited. As the ceremony concluded and beings across the galaxy celebrated the dawn of the new era, the Nightmare Leviathan's song could be heard echoing through space. No longer a cry of loneliness, but a song of joy that spoke of connection, understanding, and the infinite possibilities that emerge when consciousness recognizes consciousness. Across the vast tapestry of life, the galaxy had learned that the most dangerous predators were not the ones with claws and fangs, but fear and misunderstanding. And in overcoming those predators, they had discovered that the universe was not a hostile wilderness to be conquered, but a community to be embraced. In the end, the humans had taught the galaxy the most profound truth of all, that every being, no matter how different or dangerous it might seem, was simply another consciousness seeking connection in the vast loneliness of space. And in that recognition, the galaxy had found not just peace, but purpose. The age of apex predator partnership had begun, and with it, a new chapter in the story of galactic civilization. One written not in the language of dominance and fear, but in the universal tongue of empathy, understanding, and love.